High above the corrosive gas clouds, the Apex Syndicate spire hummed. It was a flawless fortress of calculated diplomacy, a monument to order. Today, it welcomed the chaotic unknown. Commander Jace Vance walked the long, crystalline floor of the Central Assembly. He represented Sol 3. His Terran uniform was stark. It was woven from dark synthetics and utterly devoid of the ceremonial plating favored by the galactic elite. He was the vanguard of a new, unpredictable species. His boots struck the floor in a slow, heavy rhythm that felt entirely alien in this silent sanctuary. 1,000 syndicate delegates watched from tiered balconies. Their collective scrutiny was a physical weight in the vast room. Some possessed compound eyes tracking his thermal signature. Others utilized empathic tendrils that tasted the air. Vance ignored them all. He remained perfectly stoic. Matriarch Silva of the Luminary Dominion descended from her elevated seat. She moved with fluid mathematical precision. She was the untouchable apex of galactic authority, her tall frame draped in shimmering liquid weave. She stopped exactly 3 paces from the Terran. The entire hall held its breath. Vance did something unthinkable. He stepped forward. He raised his right arm. He extended his bare, ungloved hand in a primitive physical greeting. What happens when the unbreakable rules of the cosmos shatter against a simple human gesture? We are about to witness the fracture. The ancient laws of the Syndicate strictly forbid unapproved dermal contact with a ruling matriarch, dictating immediate. The protocol evaporated entirely in the face of the impossible reality. Silva took his hand. Then she did not feel political intrigue. She did not feel curiosity. Her clinical detachment shattered instantly into paralyzing biological overload. Resonance. It hit her like a localized kinetic strike. Luminaries regulated their bodies through delicate subdermal harmonic grids. The exact moment their skin met, Silva's grid violently destabilized. Her pale skin, usually emitting a calm and rhythmic violet pulse, began to strobe in chaotic, unregulated bursts. The physical heat of his Terran blood shocked her system. Her core temperature plummeted in a desperate attempt to compensate. The ambient moisture in the air crystallized instantly around their joined hands. Frost formed on Vance's knuckles. Her locomotion protocol seized entirely, locking her joints as her nervous system crashed. The assembly hall erupted into absolute, panic-driven silence. Delegates frantically launched covert sensor sweeps from their elevated podiums, hunting for concealed technological weapons or scanning desperately for aggressive psychic manipulation. Yet they found absolutely nothing except the raw, latent energy of a Terran heartbeat. Silva forcibly broke the grip. She gasped. "Quarantine," she whispered. Her voice was a fractured harmonic chord. It was stripped of all its usual regal authority. Royal guards immediately surrounded them. They moved the Terran and the matriarch to a restricted observation room deep within the lower levels of the spire. Heavy blast doors sealed shut with a deafening thud. Just the matriarch and the commander. Click, hiss. The asymmetrical, slightly off-tempo mechanical click of the environmental scrubbers echoed in the corner. It was a tiny, an irrelevant sound. Yet it anchored the heavy crushing silence of the isolated chamber. Vance tracked the noise for a fraction of a second before his eyes returned to the alien leader. Silva leaned heavily against a durasteel table. She was trembling. Her inner light still pulsed erratically, casting harsh purple shadows across the bare walls. Looking at her temporary vulnerability, an involuntary and fiercely protective instinct flared hot in Vance's chest. A feeling that made absolutely no logical sense, given that they were strangers and she was a foreign monarch capable of obliterating his homeworld. He immediately crushed the feeling. He deflected the bizarre alien emotion by aggressively mapping the room's tactical geometry. 2 reinforced exits, 0 blind spots, 3 possible cover positions. He locked his stance. He remained unflinching. "What are you?" Silva finally asked. The question was not a political inquiry. It was a biological demand. She pushed herself off the table. She stepped closer to him. The proximity alone made her subdermal grid hum again, a high-pitched vibration that Vance could feel vibrating in his own teeth. This was the truth of Terran existence. The latent energy in his blood was not a weapon to be confiscated. It was an ambient, terrifying gravity. She could literally feel his dense, iron-rich biology pulling at her own cellular structure. It demanded an impossible alignment. It forced her highly evolved systems to acknowledge a primitive, overwhelming vitality. "I am a soldier," Vance said. His voice was low and calm. "You are a disruption," Silva corrected. She stared at his hands. "Oh, your biology vibrates at a frequency that dismantles our logic. My grid attempted to harmonize with yours. It nearly burned out my nervous system." Vance did not apologize. He did not step back. He simply held his ground in the tight space, radiating that same quiet, heavy heat. The silence stretched between them, thick and charged. The spire's assembly waited in chaos above. But down here, a different kind of war had just begun. They emerged from the observation chamber. The tension inside the spire had mutated. It was no longer political curiosity. It was primal apprehension. Silva walked back to her high seat. Her subdermal grid was strictly regulated now, forced into a rigid, painful suppression to prevent another cascade failure. Vance followed. His heavy boots once again beat that alien rhythm against the floor. The diplomatic ceremony resumed under a suffocating weight. Terrans were no longer a mere footnote on a datapad. They were a biological threat, a vanguard. The delegates kept their distance, too quiet, too controlled. Silva raised her hands to address the syndicate. Her voice resonated through the acoustic amplifiers. She spoke of integration. She spoke of careful, measured steps. Vance stood at the base of the podium. He watched the crowd. His Terran instincts were fully flared. The ancient, delicate crystalline archways of the grand hall curved perfectly toward the central apex, reflecting centuries of unbroken. A shrieking hum shattered the light. A Varghast shadow mercenary broke from the ranks of the diplomats. Their active camouflage dissolved in a burst of static. An energy blade ignited. It was a jagged line of superheated plasma. And the assassin charged the podium. The target was the matriarch. The royal guards were too far. The heavy silica plating of their armor seized in a temporary thermal overload. He did not hesitate. Vance lunged. He didn't draw a weapon. He became one. The Terran threw his entire dense body mass directly into the trajectory of the plasma strike, intercepting the blow meant to sever the matriarch's command spine. The searing blade met his shoulder. Synthetics vaporized. Flesh burned. But the sheer absurd density of his Terran bone structure caught the energy matrix. Stopping the clean bisection the weapon was designed to execute. A dropped goblet of violet ceremonial wine hit the floor. It rolled in a slow, uneven circle across the polished, crystalline tiles, and the liquid spilling like dark oil while the energy blade sparked violently above it. Vance did not scream. He twisted his torso against the burning blade, using the assassin's forward momentum against them, his left hand clamped onto the mercenary's wrist. He squeezed. The sound of fracturing Varghast cartilage cracked through the silent hall like a gunshot. The energy blade deactivated and clattered away, with a brutal, entirely uncalculated exertion of kinetic force that no other species in the room possessed. Vance slammed the assassin into the floor. He pinned the creature. His knee crushed into the mercenary's thoracic plating, effectively paralyzing their motor functions. He held them there, his own red blood dripping onto the pristine crystalline tiles, his chest heaving with heavy, uncalculated breaths, while the entire paralyzed galactic assembly watched this completely impossible display of raw, unfiltered physical violence executed solely to protect a foreign monarch who had treated him with nothing but cold suspicion. The royal guards finally swarmed the podium. They aimed their kinetic rifles at the pinned assassin. Vance slowly stepped back. He was bleeding. He was calm. He was exactly what they feared. Lockdown sirens wailed. Guards dragged the mercenary away. Silva stepped to the podium edge. "The Terran strength is undeniable," she stated, her voice carrying absolute authority. "We stand allied." She stepped down. She reached out. The matriarch held her bare, luminous hand toward the bleeding soldier.